You locked me in a nursing home on my 62nd birthday, Derek. Said I was a burden. But tell me, was I a burden when I sold my wedding ring to pay your tuition? I wasn't sick. I wasn't confused. My son faked it all, just to steal my name for a $200,000 loan and silence me. He used my love like a weapon. I spent 5 days trapped behind those sterile walls before I realized I'm not just a mother, I'm a witness. And I'm done being quiet. Keep watching to see how I turned a forgotten lottery ticket into $1 million escape and built a legacy that helps other women like us reclaim their voices. The same son who called me irrelevant now faces federal charges, and the courtroom heard everything, including the voicemail where he admits forging my name. If you're a mother who's ever been erased or dismissed, don't scroll. This might be your only warning sign before it happens to you too. Before I dive into what happened, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? And are you home or out somewhere tonight? Drop a comment below and tell me one little thing about your day. I read every word and it means more than you know. Let's begin this journey together. I baked a lemon cake for my 62nd birthday, picturing my kids' smiles. By dusk, I wondered if they ever saw me at all. The kitchen smelled of citrus and sugar, a warm glow against the June evening in Dayton, Ohio. June 30th, 2024, and I, Eleanor Harris, stood at my counter, my hands dusted with flour, my heart heavy with hope. The radio hummed soft jazz, its notes curling around family photos on the mantel. Derek and Sophie as kids, gap-toothed and grinning, James and me at our wedding. Faded Christmas lights still hung above the window, a stubborn nod to tradition I couldn't let go. I smoothed my apron, my fingers brushing the drawer where my mother's locket lay, heavy with unspoken promises. Was my family's love as real as I wanted to believe, or was it a lie I'd told myself for years? I'd always been the glue. Gave up my teaching career to raise Derek and Sophie, poured my heart into their scraped knees, their school plays, their dreams. I even pawned my earrings once to cover Derek's college debts when he flunked out, swallowing the disappointment as he promised to make it right. But lately, their calls were short, their visits rushed. Still, I hope today, my 62nd birthday, would bring us back together. A mother's love doesn't quit, does it? The oven timer dinged, sharp and clear. I pulled out the cake, its golden edges perfect. My hands trembled, not from age, but from a flutter of expectation. I set 3 plates on the table, picturing Derek's laugh, Sophie's chatter, James looking up from his phone for once. The jazz paused for a news break, and I hummed to fill the silence, arranging candles. A mother's job is to hold space for her family, to believe in them even when they forget to believe in her. The doorbell chimed and my heart leapt. I opened the door to Lena Carter, my neighbor, her braids pinned neatly, her smile wide. "Happy birthday, Elle," she said, holding a coffee mug, her voice warm as the summer air. Lena, only 28, had become like family, her own mother a distant memory she rarely spoke of. "You deserve a real party," she said, stepping into the kitchen. The coffee urn on the counter gurgled, its scent mixing with the lemon cake. I waved her off, my smile tight. "The kids are coming. It'll be enough." But my chest ached, a quiet doubt creeping in. Lena sipped her coffee, her eyes soft but searching. "You give them everything, Elle. Make sure they give something back." Her words stung, not because they were harsh, but because they echoed a fear I buried. I busied myself with plates, the clink of ceramic hiding my unease. Lena's estrangement from her mother made her see me clearly, maybe too clearly. The jazz on the radio softened, and I glanced at the clock. 6 o'clock. They were late. My fingers brushed the locket's drawer again, its weight a reminder of my mother's warning. Love holds you together, but it can hold you back too. I pushed the thought away. Derek and Sophie would come. James would put his work aside. They had to. Headlights flashed through the window and my breath caught. Derek's car pulled up, followed by Sophie's. I smoothed my hair, my heart racing. The door swung open and Derek strode in, his jaw tight, his suit rumpled. At 38, he still had that boyish face, but his eyes were distant, shadowed by the stress of his failing real estate deals. Sophie followed, her hair in a messy bun, her arms crossed, distracted by her life as a mom. James trailed behind, his phone glowing, his tie loose. He'd always been work-obsessed, ever since I gave up our Paris dream in our 20s to fund his business. I smiled, ignoring the pang in my chest. "Happy birthday, Mom," Derek said, his voice flat, no hug. Sophie nodded, her eyes on her phone. "Yeah, happy birthday," she mumbled. James grunted, already typing. The air felt heavy, the jazz now a faint hum. I gestured to the cake, its candles unlit. "I made your favorite, Derek," I said, my voice too bright. He shrugged. "Not everyone's free for cake, Mom." His tone was sharp, like a blade slicing through my hope. Sophie glanced up, her brow furrowed, but said nothing. James didn't look up at all. I swallowed, my fingers tightening on the counter. "It's just a little gathering," I said, softer now. "We don't get to do this often." Derek rolled his eyes, a gesture that cut deeper than words. "We're busy, Mom. You know that." Busy. The word echoed, a reminder of all the times I'd excused their absence, their silence. Sophie shifted, her guilt flickering. She'd resented me since I missed her 16th birthday for work, a sacrifice she never understood. James's phone buzzed, pulling him further away, his regret over our lost youth buried under deadlines. Lena watched, her mug paused mid-sip. "You guys staying long?" she asked, her tone light but pointed. Derek ignored her, checking his watch. Sophie murmured, "Noah's with a sitter." Noah, my grandson, loved my stories, but even he wasn't here. The room felt smaller, the Christmas lights dimmer. I cut the cake. The knife scraped loud against the silence. A mother's love is patient, I told myself, but patience can feel like surrender. As they left, Derek lingered, sticking a note on the fridge. "Big plans tomorrow." His smirk was cold, not the boyish grin I remembered. Sophie hugged me quickly, her arms stiff. James nodded, still typing. Lena squeezed my hand, her eyes saying what I couldn't. "You deserve more." The door closed, the jazz fading to static. I stood alone, the cake untouched, my heart sinking. Did I raise them to love me or just to need me? I walked to the drawer, my fingers brushing the locket. Its weight felt heavier, like a warning. Derek's note promised a special surprise tomorrow. Why did his smirk feel so cold? Imagine dressing up for your birthday, hoping for cake, laughter, maybe a hug. But what if the only surprise waiting was silence? If you've ever felt invisible to the people you love most, drop a 5 in the comments. What comes next still makes my heart ache. I dressed up for a birthday lunch, my heart light. By noon, my son caged me in a nursing home. The locket in my pocket burned against my thigh, its silver cool but heavy, like it could either hold my family together or mark its end. I stood in my Dayton, Ohio kitchen, June 30th, 2024. My best sweater smoothed over my shoulders, the lemon cake cooling on the counter. The radio's jazz had faded, leaving a hollow silence. I'd expected Derek and Sophie to stay last night, to share stories, to laugh. Instead, they'd left early, Derek's sticky note on the fridge promising a special surprise today. His smirk lingered in my mind, sharp and wrong. I adjusted my scarf, my fingers trembling with hope. Maybe a lunch at our favorite diner with greasy burgers and milkshakes, like when Derek was a boy. I'd raised him through tantrums and triumphs, paid his college debts when he flunked out, always believing he'd come back to me. Sophie, too, though her distance since her 16th birthday, when I worked late to cover bills, stung. James, my husband, was at the office, his phone a wall between us. But today, I told myself, we'd be a family again. A mother's heart doesn't give up, even when it aches. The doorbell rang and I hurried to open it. Derek stood there, his suit wrinkled, his eyes darting. "Ready, Mom?" he said, his voice clipped, no warmth in his smile. Sophie lingered behind, her arms crossed, her gaze on the ground. "Let's go," Derek added, gesturing to his car. My heart lifted. Maybe a surprise party. I grabbed my purse, the locket's weight steadying me, and followed. In the living room, with Sophie's silence loud, Derek's face hardened. "You're a burden now, Mom," he snapped, his voice cutting through the air like a whip. I froze, my breath catching. "What?" I whispered. He stepped closer, his hand gripping my arm, pushing me toward the door. "You're slowing us down. It's time." Sophie looked away, her lips tight, her guilt a shadow. The Christmas lights flickered, dimming my hope. His push was rough, not violent, but enough to make my knees wobble, my heart crack. The audience in my head, every mother who's ever felt unseen, would feel this sting. The car ride was silent. The engine's hum a cold companion. I clutched the locket through my sweater, its edges biting my palm. Derek didn't head toward the diner or the city. The road stretched, lined with maple trees, their leaves gold and red. My stomach twisted as a sign loomed, Willow Pines Nursing Home. "Derek, what is this?" I asked, my voice sharp. He cleared his throat, eyes on the road. "It's for your safety, Mom. You're forgetting things." I laughed, bitter, my chest tight. "Forgetting? I'm fine." He parked, his jaw set, and opened the trunk. My suitcase sat there, packed, a betrayal in plaid fabric. "You went through my things?" I snapped, my voice rising. He sighed. "Don't make this harder." Nurses in scrubs bustled at the entrance, their smiles plastic, the air thick with antiseptic and despair. Bingo posters lined the walls, a mockery of joy. Derek handed over papers, power of attorney, my name scrawled in his hand. "It's done," he said, avoiding my eyes. Sophie stayed in the car, her head bowed. James wasn't even here, his absence a wound. A nurse led me to a beige room, the door creaking shut behind me. The bed was stiff, the window small, facing a brick wall. My heart pounded, my fingers clutching the locket. I sank onto the mattress, its springs groaning, the antiseptic smell choking me. Alone, I opened the suitcase, my clothes folded too neatly, not by my hands. Tucked in a pocket was a lottery ticket, its numbers smudged but familiar, like a memory I couldn't place. I stared, my breath shallow. Had Derek packed it by mistake, or was it a cruel joke? The locket burned in my hand, its family forever engraving a lie. My son had erased me, left me in this sterile trap. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The ticket's numbers caught my eye, a flicker of something. Hope, maybe. Could it be a way out? The door's creak echoed in my chest, a cage closing, but I wasn't ready to stay locked. Trapped in a nursing home, I felt like a shadow. Then a friend's voice lit a spark in me. The locket's weight pressed against my chest, tucked in my sweater, like a vow I wasn't ready to break. Maybe I could rewrite my story. At Willow Pines Nursing Home in Dayton, Ohio, the common room was dim, lit by a flickering bulb. A coffee urn gurgled in the corner, its bitter scent mixing with the stale air. A farmer's market flyer taped to the wall, curled at the edges, promising a world I couldn't reach. 3 days since Derek abandoned me here, his words, "You're a burden now, Mom," still cut like glass. My heart ached, but something stirred beneath the pain, a flicker of defiance. I sat on a sagging couch, my fingers tracing the locket's engraving. Family forever. I'd given everything to my kids, my teaching career, my savings, my dreams. I pawned jewelry to cover Derek's debts when he flunked college, believing he'd make it right. Sophie's silence, rooted in that missed 16th birthday when I worked late, hurt just as much. James, lost to his work, hadn't even called. A mother's love is supposed to endure, but what happens when it's thrown away? Footsteps broke my thoughts. Lena Carter slipped into the room, her braids pinned up, her smile warm despite the sterile walls. At 28, she was young enough to be my daughter, but her own mother's absence made her see me, really see me. "You're stronger than this place, Elle," she said, her voice soft but firm, sitting beside me. The coffee urn hissed, grounding the moment. Lena's estrangement from her mom fueled her fire, her need to lift me up. "They don't get to lock you away," she added, her eyes fierce. I managed a weak smile, my throat tight. "I don't know how to fight this," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. Lena leaned closer, her hand brushing mine. "You start by remembering who you are." Her words hit like a match in the dark. I nodded, my fingers tightening on the locket. She was right. I wasn't just a number on a chart, but the weight of Derek's betrayal, his rough push toward the car, his cold smirk, made me feel like nothing. The audience, every mother who's ever felt erased, would clench their fists at his cruelty. The door creaked, and Noah slipped in, his backpack slung low. My grandson, 15, with his messy hair and shy grin, loved my old teaching stories. How I'd made history come alive for my students. His loyalty warmed my heart, a flicker of hope in this cold place. "Grandma," he whispered, glancing at the nurse's station. I heard Uncle Derek on the phone, something about fixing debts. His brow furrowed, his voice low, protective. I leaned forward, my pulse quickening. "What did he say?" I asked, my hands clasped tight. Noah hesitated, then said, "He sounded sneaky, like he was hiding something." The coffee urn gurgled again, a reminder of the world moving on without me. Noah's words stirred the spark Lena had lit. Derek's debts weren't new. I'd bailed him out before, his real estate ventures always failing, but this felt different, darker. I hugged Noah, his skinny arms grounding me. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said, my voice steadier. His loyalty, tied to our late-night talks about history and heroes, gave me something to hold on to. Later, alone in the common room, I dialed Derek's number on a borrowed phone. The line crackled, his voice sharp when he answered. "What, Mom?" he snapped, like I was an interruption. My chest tightened, but I pushed forward. "Why am I here, Derek? I'm not sick." His laugh was cold, cutting. "You never did anything for us, Mom. You're confused, forgetting things." The lie stung, denying every sacrifice, my career, my savings, my heart. "I gave you everything," I retorted, my voice shaking, my fingers white around the phone. He hung up, the click loud as a slammed door. The audience would feel this, his greed, his dismissal, a son erasing his mother's worth. I sank back, the locket heavy against my heart. Lena returned, her eyes soft but urgent. "Found something," she said, slipping me a crumpled bank notice from Derek's old mail she'd picked up at my house. My name was on it, bold and wrong, tied to a loan I never signed. My breath caught, my hands trembling as I unfolded it. Can I trust the family I built, or must I rebuild myself? The farmer's market flyer fluttered as a nurse passed, oblivious. The bank notice listed a loan, $200,000, Eleanor Harris, in ink I didn't write. How was my name on it? They wanted me to vanish quietly, but every clue I find screams, "I'm not done yet." The locket's clasp stuck, like it was guarding a truth. Maybe my family's secrets were closer than I thought. In the lounge at Willow Pines Nursing Home, Dayton, Ohio, the air carried the warm scent of apple pie from the kitchen. A jukebox hummed an old Sinatra tune, its notes soft against the sterile walls. A farmer's market flyer curled on a bulletin board, a reminder of the world beyond these beige confines. 4 days after Derek's betrayal, his words, "You never did anything for us," burned in my chest. My fingers tightened on the bank notice Lena had found, my name scrawled in ink I didn't write. Hurt was turning to anger, a fire I hadn't felt in years. I, Eleanor Harris, sat at a rickety table, the locket heavy in my sweater pocket. I'd given up my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned jewelry to cover Derek's debts, excused his failures. Sophie's distance since her 16th birthday, when I worked late to pay bills, still stung. James, lost to his work, hadn't called, his regret over our missed Paris trip a silent wall. But that bank notice with its $200,000 loan I never signed lit something in me. A mother's love endures, but it doesn't mean surrender. Lena slipped into the lounge, her boots tapping the linoleum. At 28, her braids neat, her eyes fierce, she was my lifeline. Her own mother's absence drove her to see my strength when I couldn't. "We're checking that notice, Elle," she said, sliding a chair beside me. The jukebox's tune wavered, grounding my focus. I nodded, my throat tight, and opened the lounge's ancient computer. "I called James," I said, my voice low. "He's shocked about this place, but—" I trailed off, picturing his distracted frown, his phone always glowing. I dialed James again, the line crackling. "Elle, I'll sort it out," he mumbled, his voice distant, buried in work. The jukebox hummed, a faint echo of our youth when we dreamed of Paris, a trip I gave up for his business. "You didn't know," I said, sharper than intended. He sighed. "I'm trying, Elle." The call ended, his absence a weight. Lena's hand brushed mine. "He'll come around," she said, her voice soft but sure. Her estrangement from her mom made her fight for me, her belief a spark in the dark. Noah texted, his name lighting up my borrowed phone. My grandson, 15, loved my teaching stories, how I brought history to life. "Grandma," Derek said something about covering tracks on a call, he wrote, his words rushed, protective. I clutched the phone, my pulse quickening. Derek's emergencies flashed through my mind. Car repairs, business loans, always urgent, always me paying. The bank notice sat heavy in my lap, my name a lie in black ink. Lena leaned over, her breath catching. "That's not your signature, Elle. He's hiding something." The audience, every mother who's been used, would feel this, the sting of a son's greed. If your own child locked you away, stole your name, and claimed you were crazy, what would hurt most, the betrayal or the silence? We're about to reach the moment that changed everything. If you're still here, drop a 6 in the comments so I know I'm not alone in this. The jukebox switched to a slower tune, and I turned on the lounge's TV, flipping to the local news channel. My hands shook as I unfolded the lottery ticket from my suitcase, its numbers smudged but sharp in my memory. The news anchor's voice droned, then sharpened. "Tonight's lottery numbers." My heart raced as the numbers flashed. 7, 14, 22, 29, 41, 8. I checked the ticket, my breath hitching. They matched. Every single one. The apple pie's scent faded, the jukebox's tune a distant hum. My vow to escape surged, a lifeline in my hands. Was I their mother, or just their safety net? The lottery numbers aligned, $1 million promise. Could this ticket be my way out? They left me to fade away. Then a lottery ticket handed me 1,000,000 reasons to fight back. The locket felt warm in my pocket, like it was cheering me on, whispering of justice I might yet find. My cramped room at Willow Pines Nursing Home in Dayton, Ohio, was no longer just a cage. It was a hub of plans. A tray of grilled chicken sat untouched on the dresser, its scent faint against the antiseptic air. The window showed a gray sky, heavy with clouds, mirroring the mix of hope and anger churning in my chest. 5 days since Derek abandoned me, his bank notice, a $200,000 loan in my name, burned in my hands. His betrayal wasn't just personal, it was theft. I, Eleanor Harris, sat on the stiff bed, my fingers tracing the locket's edges. I'd sacrificed my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned my savings for Derek's failed ventures, and excused his lies. Sophie's distance tied to my absence at her 16th birthday still hurt. James, lost to his work, hadn't visited, his regret over our untraveled Paris dream a silent gap. But that lottery ticket, its numbers matching last night's news, 7, 14, 22, 29, 41, 8, was a lifeline. A mother's heart bends, but it doesn't break, not when there's a chance to fight. Lena burst into the room, her boots tapping the linoleum, her grin wide. At 28, her own estrangement from her mother fueled her excitement for me. "Elle, I checked the ticket online," she said, her voice bubbling. "It's real, $1 million. The jukebox in the lounge hummed a faint tune, grounding the moment. She'd found the ticket in a resident's belongings, a gift she'd slipped into my suitcase. "The world owes you," she said, her eyes bright. I clutched the ticket, my breath shallow. $1 million, I whispered, the number unreal. My anger at Derek flared hotter, but hope sparked too, a way out. Lena hugged me, her warmth a contrast to the gray sky outside. The audience, every mother discarded, would cheer this spark. Footsteps echoed and a man entered, his suit crisp, his face kind but sharp. Marcus Reed, 32, a volunteer attorney, had a fire in his eyes I recognized. Justice, born from his foster care days. "Mrs. Harris," he said, his voice steady, "I'm here to protect that win." I handed him the ticket, my hands steadying. "Derek can't touch this, can he?" I asked. Marcus shook his head. "Not if I can help it." His past, shuffled through homes fighting for fairness, made his promise personal. We sat at a small table, the grilled chicken scent fading. He outlined a plan, a trust, a new account, away from Derek's reach. "He won't touch this," Marcus said, his pen scratching notes. My heart lifted, but the bank notice loomed, a shadow over my hope. Noah texted, his name alight on my borrowed phone. My grandson, 15, loved my teaching stories, his loyalty a warmth in this cold place. "Grandma, Derek was at the house looking through papers," he wrote, his words rushed, seemed nervous. I gripped the phone, my pulse quickening. Derek's covering tracks comment, Noah's earlier clue, echoed in my mind. I opened the bank notice, my eyes scanning the page. There it was. My name, Eleanor Harris, on a $200,000 loan, the signature a perfect mimic of mine. But it wasn't mine. It matched Derek's handwriting from old letters I'd kept, his loops too sharp. "He stole from me," I said, my voice low, anger flaring like a flame. Marcus nodded, his jaw tight. "We'll prove it." The window's gray light hardened my resolve, the jukebox tune a distant pulse. I leaned back, the locket warm against my skin. Have I ever been enough? The lottery win was power, but Derek's theft cut deeper than I'd imagined. Marcus stood, his briefcase snapping shut. "We're moving you out, Eleanor, soon." His words were a promise, but as he left, he paused. "One more thing," he said, his voice low. "Derek's under federal investigation." My breath caught. For what crime? I raised my son to be honest. Now I see a thief hiding behind his smile. The locket's family forever engraving stung, a cruel jab in my pocket. Could I build a new family from this pain? The porch swing at my new house in rural Tennessee creaked under me, a country music radio twanging softly in the evening air. The modest brick home, funded by my $1 million lottery win, was a fragile freedom, its quiet both a comfort and a warning. A week after Derek left me at Willow Pines, his forged signature on a $200,000 loan burned in my mind. My anger wasn't just hurt anymore, it was a fire, ready to burn his lies to ash. I, Eleanor Harris, gripped a mug of tea, the steam curling like my thoughts. I'd given up my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned jewelry for Derek's failed real estate ventures, and forgiven his excuses. Sophie's distance, tied to my absence at her 16th birthday, still ached. James, lost to his work, hadn't followed me here, his regret over our untraveled Paris dream, a silent gap. But that bank notice, with my name in Derek's handwriting, wasn't just betrayal, it was theft. A mother's love is fierce, but it doesn't blind you forever. Marcus Reed stepped onto the porch, his suit slightly rumpled from the drive from Dayton. At 32, his steady eyes carried the weight of a foster kid who'd fought for justice his whole life. "You're safe here, Eleanor," he said, setting down his briefcase. The swing creaked, a fragile piece. "The lottery funds are in a trust. Derek can't touch them." I nodded, my fingers tight on the mug. "But he's hunting me," I said, my voice low. Marcus's jaw tightened. "We'll hunt back." His past, shuffled through homes, clawing for fairness, made his words a vow. I felt watched. The radio's twang a thin shield against my fear. Every mother who's been betrayed would feel this, the chill of a son's deceit. My phone buzzed, Sophie's name lighting the screen. Her voice was thick with tears. "I should have been there, Mom," she said, her guilt raw, tied to that missed 16th birthday when I worked late for her college fund. At 35, she was a mom herself, juggling Noah and regret. "I didn't know Derek would do this," she added, her words a plea. I softened, my anger pausing. "You're here now," I said, my throat tight. She pledged support, unaware of Derek's full deceit. The country music faded to a commercial, and I pictured Sophie's furrowed brow, her hands twisting. Her remorse was a step toward reconciliation, a flicker of the family I'd dreamed of. Noah texted next, my grandson's loyalty a warmth in this cold fight. At 15, he loved my teaching stories, tales of history and heroes. "Grandma, Derek was at the house emailing about a bank," he wrote. His words hurried, looked sneaky. My pulse quickened, my fingers brushing the locket. I opened the email he forwarded, my breath catching. It showed Derek used my name for a loan after he'd locked me in Willow Pines. His handwriting, those sharp loops, matched the bank notice. Marcus leaned over, his eyes narrowing. "Identity theft," he said, his voice low. "He's under federal investigation for it, Eleanor. Your name's on the list." The radio's twang sharpened my focus, the swings creak a rhythm to my rage. I stood, my tea cold, the locket heavy. Derek hadn't just abandoned me, he'd stolen my name, my trust, my life. The audience, every mother used and discarded, would clench their fists at this. Did I raise a son or a thief who wore his face? The news channel flickered on my small TV, a reporter's voice cutting through. "Eleanor Harris, missing from Dayton, last seen, missing." Derek's lie painting me as lost to cover his tracks. What was his next move? Derek thinks he's caged me, but I'm shattering his lies, one truth at a time. The locket sat untouched on my kitchen table, its family forever engraving a chain I was ready to break. In my rural Tennessee house, the kitchen bulb flickered, casting shadows that danced with my anger. A week since I'd escaped Willow Pines, the $1 million lottery win my shield, Derek's fraud, using my name for loans, burned in my chest. I, Eleanor Harris, leaned against the counter, my hands steady despite the fire inside. Soft jazz crackled through my phone from a Dayton diner call, its rhythm fueling my rebellion. I'd given up my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned jewelry for Derek's failed real estate ventures, and forgiven his lies. Sophie's distance, tied to my absence at her 16th birthday, had softened with her support. James, still in Dayton, hadn't joined me, his work obsession a regret from our youth when I gave up Paris for his dreams. But Derek's betrayal wasn't just abandonment. It was theft, a federal crime. A mother's love is fierce, but it doesn't shield a thief. I flipped on the small TV, the screen flickering. Derek's face appeared, his eyes moist, his voice shaking on a local news channel. "Mom's not herself," he said, fake tears glistening. "We're worried." The bulb buzzed, mirroring my anger. He wasn't worried. He was covering his tracks, painting me as lost to hide his fraud. I clenched my fists, my nails biting my palms. Every mother who's been dismissed would feel this, the outrage of a son's lies. My phone buzzed, Noah's name glowing. My grandson, 15, loved my teaching stories, tales of history and heroes. "Grandma," he texted, attaching a screenshot of Derek's bank transfer email. "This looks bad. It's from his business account." My pulse quickened. The email, sent after I was locked away, showed a transfer tied to his failing ventures, my name attached. Sophie called next, her voice thick with guilt. "We'll fix this, Mom," she said, her commitment a balm. At 35, her regret over our distance, sparked when I missed her 16th birthday for work, pushed her to stand by me. "I should have seen it sooner," she added, her words a step toward reconciliation. I nodded, though she couldn't see, the jazz from her diner call grounding me. I set up a video call with Derek, my hands trembling not with fear but fury. Marcus Reed, my attorney, had prepped me for court, his foster care past driving his steady resolve to protect me. Derek's face appeared on my laptop, his jaw tight. "What do you want, Mom?" he snapped, his tone sharp. I held up the bank notice, my voice cold. "Why's my name on your loans?" His eyes flickered, then he sneered, grabbing my old photo album, pictures from my teaching days. "Your past doesn't matter," he said, tearing a page, the rip loud through the speakers. He tossed the album aside, its cover cracking. My heart lurched, but I snapped, "You don't get to erase me." His laugh was cruel, the call's static buzz fading to the diner's jazz as I hung up, my resolve iron hard. The audience would gasp at his cruelty, tearing apart a mother's memories. Noah's email sat open, the transfer confirming Derek used my name post-admission, deepening his fraud. Marcus's words echoed, "He's under federal investigation." My anger peaked, tempered by Sophie's support, Noah's loyalty. Was my love a gift or a chain he used to bind me? The jazz softened, the bulbs flicker, steadying my fight. Noah texted again, his words rushed. Found a hidden email on Derek's laptop. Could it expose more fraud? Derek's lies are a house of cards. I'm building a truth he can't outrun. The locket waited in my purse, its weight a reminder. Soon I'd return it to the son who broke our family. In a Dayton, Ohio law office, papers rustled, the air sharp with purpose. A week after escaping Willow Pines, my $1 million lottery win secure, Derek's fraud, forging my name on loans, fueled my fire. I, Eleanor Harris, stood at a window watching cars pass, my resolve iron hard. A coffee shop's chatter drifted from a nearby call, an American flag flapping outside, signaling a fight I was ready to win. I'd sacrificed my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned jewelry for Derek's failed real estate ventures, and forgiven his excuses. Sophie's distance, tied to my absence at her 16th birthday, had healed with her support. James, still in Dayton, was starting to see my pain, his work obsession fading. But Derek's lies, his fake tears on TV, his stolen loans, weren't just betrayal. They were a crime. A mother's love bends, but it can forge steel, too. Dr. Rachel Cohen sat across from me, her notepad neat, her eyes kind but sharp. At 50, a past case, misdiagnosing an elder, drove her to validate me. "You're sharper than most, Eleanor," she said, her voice steady. Her report confirming my competency was a legal shield. Marcus Reed, my attorney, nodded, his suit crisp despite late hours. At 32, his foster care past, fighting for fairness, made him fierce. "This report buries Derek's claims," he said, papers rustling as he stacked evidence. I clutched my purse, the locket inside, my jaw tight. "He said I'm forgetting things," I said, my voice low. Rachel shook her head. "You're not forgetting. You're remembering." Her words hit, a spark to my resolve. Every mother dismissed would feel this, the power of being seen. The office door clicked shut, and I headed to a coffee shop down the street, the chatter loud, an American flag snapping in the breeze. Carla Bennett waited at a corner table, her notebook open, her eyes intense. At 40, her grandmother's nursing home struggles drove her to expose elder abuse. "Your story's bigger than you, Eleanor," she said, sipping coffee. "It's every elder locked away." I hesitated, my fingers brushing the locket in my purse. Speaking out meant exposing Derek, but also myself. "I'm ready," I said, my voice firm. Carla smiled, her pen scratching. "This'll wake people up," she said, her passion echoing her grandmother's pain. The coffee shop's hum steadied me, my resolve growing. Sophie texted, her words warm. "I'm with you, Mom." Her guilt, tied to our past distance, made her support fierce. Back at Marcus's office, a pre-court meeting loomed. Derek entered, his suit wrinkled, his eyes darting. Lena had joined via phone, her voice a lifeline from Tennessee. Marcus laid out our case, Rachel's report, the forged loan. Derek's face darkened. "You're irrelevant now, Mom," he shouted, shoving my chair, the wood creaking under his force. My breath caught, my hands gripping the table. The audience, every mother betrayed, would clench their fists at his cruelty. I stood, my voice cold. "You don't get to decide that?" He stormed out, his footsteps heavy. Lena's voice crackled through the phone. "Elle, I found something," she said, her tone urgent. Her own estrangement from her mother made her dig deeper, checking voicemails from my old house line. "It's Derek, admitting he forged loans." She played the recording, his voice clear. "Had to use Mom's name. She won't know." My heart pounded, rage flaring. Marcus's eyes lit up. "That's it," he said, sending the file to the Department of Justice. The coffee shop's chatter faded, replaced by the hum of legal documents, a signal of action. Sophie's text buzzed again. "We'll get him, Mom." Her commitment, born of guilt and love, cemented our bond. I leaned back, the locket heavy in my purse. Did I teach him to lie, or did he bury me on his own? Lena's recording hinted at a business partner, someone else pulling strings. Who was involved? I faced my son in court, his lies against my truth. Only one of us would leave unbroken. The locket rested in my purse, its weight a final anchor. Today, I'd reclaim my place and let it go. The Dayton, Ohio courthouse buzzed with tension, the gavel's echo sharp in the air. News vans hummed outside, their engines a low growl signaling the world was watching. 2 weeks after escaping Willow Pines, my $1 million lottery win secure, Derek's fraud, forging my name on loans, lit a fire in me. I, Eleanor Harris, stood at the courtroom entrance, my navy coat crisp, my hands steady. This wasn't just about me. It was for every mother erased. I'd given up my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned jewelry for Derek's failed real estate ventures, and forgiven his lies. Sophie's distance, tied to my absence at her 16th birthday, had healed with her support. James, once lost to work, now stood by me, his regret over our untraveled Paris dream fading. But Derek's betrayal, abandoning me, stealing my name, was a crime. A mother's love is fierce, but it doesn't shield a liar. The courtroom doors swung open, wood creaking. Derek sat at the front, his suit rumpled, his eyes darting. His lawyer, a tall man with a polished voice, played edited voicemails, my own words twisted to sound scattered. "Mrs. Harris is unstable," he said, his tone smug. Derek took the stand, his voice trembling just enough. "I was protecting her," he lied, his eyes avoiding mine. The gavel cracked, silencing whispers. His words stung, a false mask of care. The audience, every mother betrayed, would clench their fists at his manipulation, especially after his pre-trial shout, "You're irrelevant now." Marcus Reed, my attorney, stood, his suit sharp, his confidence unshaken. At 32, his foster care past drove his fight for justice. He presented Dr. Rachel Cohen's report, her words a shield. Eleanor Harris is fully competent, sharper than most. Rachel, 50, her integrity shaped by a past elder misdiagnosis, nodded from the gallery, her eyes steady. Marcus laid out loan records, my forged signature glaring, and a timeline tying Derek's fraud to his failing business. Sophie, beside James, gripped his hand, her face wet with tears, her guilt over our past distance fueling her support. James, 65, squeezed back, his regret turning to pride. The gavel's echo punctuated the tension, a drumbeat to my resolve. I took the stand, my purse heavy with the locket. The judge, stern with gray hair, leaned forward. I straightened, my voice clear. "He left me like I was nothing," I said, my eyes on Derek. "Locked me in a nursing home, stole my name for loans. I'm everything." Gasps rippled through the room. Marcus slid a court document across the table, a micro-twist. It linked Derek to a business partner in the fraud, a shadow behind his lies. I held back the DOJ file, Lena's recording of Derek's confession, for strategy, my heart pounding. Derek's face paled, his hands twitching. The audience would feel this, the crack in his facade. Sophie's eyes met mine, her support a lifeline. James nodded, his presence healing years of distance. Dr. Cohen's calm gaze steadied me. Marcus's evidence, loans, timelines, investigations, piled high, a house of truth against Derek's cards. The news van's hum outside grew louder, signaling public scrutiny. My resolve peaked, a mother's defiance dismantling her son's deception. Can a mother's love survive a son who erased her? The judge raised his hand, his voice low. I need a week to review. My breath caught. A week? Derek stood, his jaw tight, his eyes wild. What would he try next? The court freed my body. Now I'm freeing my story for the world to hear. The locket rested in my hand, its silver, cool, ready to release the pain of a broken family. In a Dayton, Ohio TV studio, soft lights glowed. The microphones hum, a quiet pulse urging me forward. Days after the courtroom battle, my $1 million lottery win secure, Derek's fraud, stealing my name for loans, still burned, but I, Eleanor Harris, stood tall, my gray sweater neat, my heart unbound. A memory of slow dancing with James in our youth, his arms warm at a county fair, flickered in my mind, grounding my courage. This wasn't just my fight, it was for every mother silenced. I'd given up my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned jewelry for Derek's failed ventures, and forgiven his lies. Sophie's distance, tied to my absence at her 16th birthday, had healed with her support. James, once lost to work, now stood by me, his regret over our untraveled Paris dream fading. Derek's pre-court shout, "You're irrelevant!" lingered, but his defeat in court fueled my fire. A mother's love is fierce, but it doesn't chain you to betrayal. The judge's ruling echoed in my ears as I entered the studio, the gavel's crack final. My autonomy restored, Derek's petition dismissed. He'd left the courtroom, his face pale, eyes wild, his lies crumbling. The studio's hum welcomed my voice, a new stage for my truth. Carla Bennett, the journalist, adjusted her notes, her eyes bright with purpose. At 40, her grandmother's nursing home struggles drove her to amplify my story. "Ready, Eleanor?" she asked, her voice warm. I nodded, my fingers brushing the locket, my resolve a steady flame. Every mother discarded would feel this, the triumph over injustice. Carla leaned forward, the microphone catching her soft breath. "Tell me what happened," she said. I took a breath, the studio's lights warm on my face. "My son Derek left me in a nursing home on my 62nd birthday," I began, my voice steady. "He said I was a burden, forged my name on loans, stole my life." I told her of Willow Pines, the antiseptic cage, the lottery ticket that gave me $1 million, the fraud I uncovered. "I'm every parent thrown away," I said, my eyes locked on the camera. Carla nodded, her eyes wet, her grandmother's pain echoing mine. Sophie, Noah, and James watched from the gallery, their faces proud. Sophie's guilt, tied to our past distance, had turned to love. Noah, 15, beamed, his admiration for my teaching stories a bond. James's hand rested on Sophie's, his support healing years of absence. The interview ended, the microphone's hum fading. Outside, the air was crisp, news vans still humming. Derek stood by his car, his suit wrinkled, his jaw tight. I approached, the locket in my hand. "This belongs to the family you broke," I said, pressing it into his palm. He flinched, silent, his eyes darting away. The act was a severance, my heart lightening as I let go. Carla joined me, her phone buzzing with a tip. Derek's business partner was linked to the fraud, a wider web of deceit. The audience, every mother betrayed, would cheer this, my voice breaking Derek's lies. Sophie hugged me, her arms tight, her voice thick. "I'm so proud, Mom," she said, her love a balm. Noah grinned. "You're cooler than any influencer, Grandma." James squeezed my hand, his eyes soft, a slow dance memory flickering, us swaying under fair lights, young and hopeful. Lena texted from Tennessee, "You're unstoppable, Elle." Her cheers, rooted in her own estrangement, anchored me. The microphone's hum faded to that dance, love reclaimed. Was I their mother, or was I always meant to be more? Carla's tip suggested Derek's partner might talk. Who else was involved? Derek's lies are ashes. I'm building a legacy that'll shine brighter than his betrayal. The locket was gone, my heart light, ready for a future I chose. The Dayton, Ohio Community Center buzzed with voices, a banner fluttering above the entrance. For every elder. Glasses of iced tea clinked on tables, their sweet scent mingling with summer air. Days after my courtroom victory, my $1 million lottery win secure, I, Eleanor Harris, stood at a podium, my gray sweater soft but my resolve firm. Back at my Tennessee house, the porch waited, crickets chirping, a promise of peace. Derek's fraud, stealing my name, was behind me, but his insults and torn album lingered. Today I'd build something new. I'd given up my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned jewelry for his failed ventures, and forgiven his lies. Sophie's distance, tied to my absence at her 16th birthday, had healed with her devotion. James, once lost to work, now stood by me, his regret over our untraveled Paris dream fading. Lena's cheers and Noah's loyalty had carried me here. A mother's love doesn't fade. It transforms, forging a legacy for others. The community center hummed, chairs scraping as people settled. Sophie stood beside me, her eyes bright, volunteering for my new foundation, the Eleanor Project. At 35, her guilt over our past distance fueled her love. "I'm in, Mom," she whispered, her hand squeezing mine. Noah, 15, beamed, his messy hair falling into his eyes, his admiration for my teaching stories, a bond that never broke. James, 65, nodded from the front row, his eyes wet, his support healing years of absence. I stepped to the podium, my voice clear. "This is for every elder locked away, forgotten," I said. "We're not finished." Applause rose, soft then loud, the banner fluttering like a flag of hope. Every mother erased would feel this, the triumph of being heard. Back at my Tennessee porch, the swing creaked, crickets chirping under a fading sky. I sat with a pen, writing a new will, my hand steady. Derek's name was absent, his indictment, identity theft, fraud, sealing his fate. Noah joined me, his backpack slung low. "Grandma," he said, his voice soft, "I saved something." He handed me a handmade card, a photo tucked inside, a picture from my teaching days, me smiling at a chalkboard saved from the album Derek destroyed. "You're my hero," he said, his eyes bright. My throat tightened, his loyalty a light in my heart. I hugged him, the cricket song a gentle rhythm. The audience would feel this, the hope of a child's love. Lena arrived, her boots crunching gravel, her grin wide. "You're a legend, Elle," she joked, sitting on the swing. At 28, her estrangement from her mother made her pride in me fierce. Carla Bennett's article hit the newsstands, spreading the Eleanor Project's mission: protect elders, give them a voice. Carla, 40, driven by her grandmother's nursing home pain, had texted, "You're changing lives." The iced tea's clink from the community center echoed in my mind, blending with the cricket's chirp, signaling peace. Sophie sat nearby, planning volunteer schedules, her devotion a redemption. James joined us, his hand on my shoulder, his regret now love. Did I lose a son or find myself? Derek's indictment was final, but a letter arrived from him, slipped under my door. Would I read it? They tried to erase me. Now I'm free and my voice will echo forever. No locket, just me, whole, unbroken enough. The common room at Willow Pines Nursing Home in Dayton, Ohio felt alive, not the sterile cage I'd known weeks ago. Book club posters adorned the walls, their bright colors a stark contrast to the beige paint. the scent of fresh coffee wafted from an urn in the corner, mingling with the faint sweetness of homemade cookies someone had brought. Outside, the late summer air carried a hint of cut grass, a reminder of the world I'd reclaimed. My $1 million lottery win, now safely in a trust, had given me the means to escape, but it was Derek's fraud, stealing my name for loans, that had lit the fire in me. His indictment was final, a 10-year plea deal, and I, Eleanor Harris, stood before a room of residence, my gray sweater soft but my heart firm. Tonight, on my Tennessee porch, fireflies would glow, a symbol of the peace I'd earned. I'd given up my teaching career for Derek and Sophie, pawned jewelry to cover his failed real estate ventures, and forgiven his lies time and again. Sophie's distance, born from my absence at her 16th birthday when I worked late for her college fund, had healed through her devotion. James, once lost to his work, now stood by me, his regret over our untraveled Paris dream transformed into love. Lena's cheers and Noah's loyalty had carried me through the darkest days. A mother's love doesn't fade, it becomes a beacon, lighting the way for others. The residents before me, some in wheelchairs, others clutching worn novels, watched with tired but hopeful eyes. I was here to show them they weren't forgotten. The room hummed with quiet anticipation, chairs scraping as people settled. I stepped to a small podium, my hands steady, my voice clear. "You're not forgotten," I said, my words ringing out. "You're not finished. Your stories, your strength, they matter." My eyes met an older woman's, her hands folded tightly, her face lined with years of being overlooked. I remembered my own days here, the antiseptic smell, the creaking floors, the feeling of being erased. I was left here, I continued, on my 62nd birthday, told I was a burden. But I'm standing here now, and so can you. Applause rose, soft at first, then stronger, some residents wiping tears. The book club posters fluttered as a breeze slipped through an open window, a sign of life in this once dead place. Every mother dismissed, every elder silenced, would feel this, the power of being seen. I paused, my throat tight. Lena sat in the front row, her boots tapping softly, her smile warm. At 28, her estrangement from her own mother made her pride in me fierce. She leaned forward, whispering, "You're killing it, Elle." I smiled, her bond a lifeline through this journey. She'd been there from the start, slipping me the lottery ticket, finding Derek's bank notice, sharing his damning voicemail. Now, she was here, celebrating my freedom. I glanced at the residents again, their faces a mix of awe and hope. One man, his hair white as snow, raised a trembling hand, his voice raspy. "You give us courage," he said. My heart swelled, the coffee urns gurgle grounding the moment. I wasn't just speaking for me. I was speaking for them, for every elder locked away under the guise of care. Lena leaned closer, her voice low. "Got news," she said, her eyes gleaming. "Derek took a 10-year plea deal. It's done." My breath caught, but my heart stayed steady. His indictment, identity theft, wire fraud, closed his chapter. A letter from him had arrived at my Tennessee house, slipped under the door, but I'd returned it unopened, its weight gone. I nodded to Lena, my lips curving. "Good," I said, my voice calm. The audience, every parent betrayed, would nod in satisfaction, justice served against a son who stole more than money. Lena squeezed my hand, her warmth a reminder of the family I'd chosen. The applause faded, a nurse refilling the coffee urn, its scent sharp and comforting. I left Willow Pines, the evening air cool against my skin. Back at my Tennessee house, the porch swing creaked under me, crickets chirping in the dusk. Fireflies glowed, tiny stars in the grass, a symbol of peace I'd fought for. Sophie, Noah, and James joined me, my redefined family. Sophie, 35, sat beside me, her hair in a loose braid, her eyes soft. "I'm volunteering full-time for the Eleanor Project," she said, her voice thick with love. Her guilt, tied to our past distance, had turned to devotion, her work a redemption. Noah, 15, leaned forward, his messy hair falling into his eyes. "You're my hero, Grandma," he said, handing me a handmade card. Inside was a photo he'd saved from Derek's destroyed album, me at a chalkboard, teaching, smiling. My throat tightened. His loyalty born from our storytelling nights, a light in my heart. James sat on the swing, his hand warm on mine. At 65, his regret for years lost to work had turned to pride. "I should have seen you sooner, Elle," he said, his voice low, echoing our youth when we danced at county fairs. I squeezed his hand, the cricket's song a gentle rhythm. Carla Bennett's article had hit newsstands, spreading the Eleanor Project's mission. Protect elders. Give them a voice. Carla, 40, driven by her grandmother's nursing home pain, had called earlier, "You're changing lives, Eleanor." The iced tea glasses from the community center lingered in my mind, their clink blending with the firefly's glow, signaling peace. I opened my notebook, pen scratching. "Dear Eleanor," I wrote, "you wrote your own ending. I'm proud." The words felt final, a testament to my journey, from a nursing home cage to a legacy of advocacy. I looked at Sophie, Noah, James, and thought of Lena's cheers, Carla's words. They were my family now, not bound by blood, but by choice. The residents' applause echoed in my heart, their faces hopeful, alive, a mirror of my own. Did I raise him, or did he free me to be more? I closed the notebook, the fireflies dancing. A new letter arrived from an elder inspired by my speech, asking for my help. Could I lead them to their own freedom? The fireflies' glow on my Tennessee porch lingers in my heart, a quiet symbol of the freedom I've won after Derek's betrayal tried to erase me. From a nursing home cage to uncovering his fraud, I, Eleanor Harris, found my voice, not just for me, but for every elder silenced. Family bonds can break under greed, but they can also be rebuilt with love and truth, as Sophie, Noah, and James showed me. In life, when we listen to each other's stories, we find the strength to rise above pain. Compassion, not control, holds families together, a lesson I learned through tears and triumph. If my journey touched you, please share your own story in the comments. Your voice matters, and I'd love to hear it.